All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending today's webinar hosted by iGroup Technologies. We got a couple of us in here. It's a little bit after 2 o'clock. It is Thursday, April 15th, and this is the first ever iGroup Technologies AMA Ask Me Anything with our founder and CEO, Brian Walker, getting ready to jump on here. And just a little reminder, if anybody has any questions whatsoever at any time, that is the whole point of this webinar today. So please pipe in. They don't have to be exactly about the various things that we offer here with iGroup. They can be about direct-to-garment in general. You can ask questions to Brian. He's a pretty open book, and he'll answer them to the best of his ability. But without further ado, I present Brian Walker, and let's get into this.
Hello everyone, it's Brian from iGroup Technologies. You may know iGroup by a variety of different names. We originally started off way back in the mid-80s screen printing, and I developed a business all around that while I was still in high school. And then through the years, we ended up developing a relationship and saw what was happening with direct-to-garment in the industry way back end of the 90s, early 2000s, and I saw the future at that time. We eventually started up a company called Direct to Shirt that sold DTG related items, and then got into selling some printers and stuff, and all that evolved into the Viper line of pretreatment machines. Then in 2013 we introduced Image Armor, which was pretreatments, and then soon after that inks for the direct-to-garment printers. And in 2016, which as scary as it is, was 5 years ago, we started RTP Apparel, which are pre-treated shirts. So we are the longest, oldest running manufacturer of direct-to-garment, ready-to-print apparel in the world. And we probably have the most experience in that. And recently we just partnered up with a great company out of Europe, Souls, and Souls is based in Paris. And our partnership there allowed us to take RTP worldwide and increase our production capacities, quality of product, and a whole bunch of stuff. So what we're going to do today is open up the floor for questions. You can ask anything, just type it away on your monitor or on your computer. Our handy dandy host, Dean here, will be asking me those questions, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. We can stay on topic, DTG. We can talk about the weather. Doesn't really matter. If you want to go into politics, that would be a fun one, but we'll probably try to avoid that for this webinar since that's way outside of what we're trying to talk about today. But you can ask anything. It's open season. And go ahead and start filling in questions. We'll see if Dean has anything here so far.
Don't have any questions at the moment, but Brian, do you want to give a little recap on all of the various products that we offer?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll start within the iGroup Technologies aspect, which basically encompasses the Viper line of pretreatment machines. Our newest pretreatment machine is our handy little mini Viper, or I should say the Viper Mini, because it really is actually very, very small, compact, and easy to use. This is probably one of the most innovative pretreatment machines in the industry. I'm outside of a hand sprayer via like a powered hand sprayer. Every machine has been typically an enclosed type machine or a much, much bigger unit. As you can see, this unit here is only about 11 inches tall, not even 6 inches wide. And you can see it fits right here. Here's a typical gallon of pretreatment. So you can see exactly how big this is. And it's very, very tiny. It's small. It works out great. It's self-propelled, and it's very, very easy to use. And what we're going to do is we'll show you the difference here with an actual hand sprayer. So this would be your powered hand sprayer. This is the Viper Mini. And as you can see, it is a whole lot of difference as far as size and ease of use. This is just really sort of bulky and not real comfortable to use. So does this work for pre-treating? Absolutely. The biggest problem with this is the fact that you're moving by hand and you really don't know exactly how much pre-treatment you're applying to the garment. With pre-treatment, it is actually 80% of your problems stem from improper pre-treating. Okay, and that can be an issue because you need to apply the correct amount of pre-treatment. You need to apply consistent pre-treatment to every shirt and be able to do it from shirt to shirt. Otherwise, you will receive or you'll see variations in the actual DTG print. So the Viper One, or I should say the Viper Mini here, allows it self-propelled and self-motorized, and it makes the pre-treating process much easier. You don't hold it and do this. It actually self-propels across the face of the shirt, consistently applying the pre-treatment. And we've actually had quite a few people that have bought these, used them in their shop, and they I know the one actually had an aunt that also had a direct-to-garment printing shop. They loved it so much that they bought one for her, and that was a beautiful thing because they really hadn't had it but a couple of weeks and saw how well it improved. They ended up actually getting rid of their regular pre-treatment machine and just use this because when end of the day you're done, you can flush out the system, put it on the shelf, it's out of the way, get rid of your foam platen, and basically you have your workspace back and available for use of other stuff. So I guess we'll take a peek over here to our other pre-treat machines. And the pre-treatment machines themselves, we have two different models. We have the XPT 1000 here, and we also have the Viper Max. Now, everybody always asks what it really is the difference. Yeah, okay, they're both open-aired units. Now, what that, a lot of people will say, oh, you can't have an open-air unit, it's going to go everywhere, and this and that, and da-da-da-da. We've taken a lot of time. We've been making pre-treatment machines for, since about 2013. I think we actually started about 2012, and then, 2008. It was 2007, 2008. I'm getting the companies mixed up here. When we brought out our very first pre-treatment machine, the XPT 6000, it was the first in the world in the industry with a touchscreen control, multi-nozzle spray unit to allow for varying spray zones on the shirt. And it was a workhorse. It was an industrial workhorse, and many people thereafter started copying exactly what we did. I'll take that as a compliment from everybody out there. So over time, we ended up developing several other units, learning as we went along, and the industry changed. So we now have the Viper XPT 1000, which allows for modification of the spray location as well as up and down on the spray area. The Max is really similar to that also. And I'll show you, I'll grab some shirts here real quick just to show you, if you give me 1 second, we'll grab some shirts.
Brian, we do have a question in regards to the 6000.
Okay.
They would like to know if we can do an overhaul on that. They bought it used.
Some of the parts are not, let me get some shirts here so I can refer back to that because you may not be able to hear me super well. Hopefully we're back to regular voiceover. It all depends. I would say call our office at 877-673-4645 4378 and talk to our technician. Some of the parts are getting harder to get, and we had discontinued that unit, I'm trying to think now, it's probably been 5 years or so, 5 or 6 years ago. So we would actually need to get a serial number and have you talk to a technician. The potential's there, but like I said, they are workhorses and all that, but some of the parts are discontinued, so we can't necessarily always support it.
And as far as price goes on that they'd probably just be best to call that in.
That would, yeah, we don't have a set fee because it would have to be based off of time and parts. So to show you real quick on the XPT 1000 how easy it is, basically we're just going to take our shirt, lay it in, we can set our spray length and the speed at which the head moves. That will vary the amount of pre-treatment applied. So the faster it moves, the less pre-treatment it applies. And then once we have everything set, we just hit our start button and it will spray the shirt, as you can see right there. So it'll be hard to probably see on this here, but just because of the black and that. But that is our XPT 1000. Now, our newest unit is the Viper Max. This is a beast from the aspect that it is an industrial unit that is easily, you can do a wide variety of things. If you want to spray just the left chest, we can do that simply by changing the touch screen on it and changing the amount of pre-treatment applied to the shirt. I just changed it on the touch screen here, and it's just spraying. I don't know if we can see that with the lighting in here or not, but we just sprayed a left chest, and I can't tell from my monitor if we can see that or not, but it sprayed just here on the left chest. And then maybe grab a gray shirt, we'll be able to see it a little bit better. We'll do this, and I will increase the fluid laydown so that you can actually see it a little bit better. So this here is just going to spray left chest, and hopefully we can see this. Boom. So the neat thing about the Max is if we wanted to do a sleeve, we can actually load the sleeve up. There are presets built into the unit, and you can also program in 30 different locations and up to 4 different fluid amounts for different colored shirts. So this right here, just to show you how easy it is to do the sleeve of the shirt, boom. You've got your shirt sprayed, and all you got to do is heat press that and you're ready to roll. Now, one neat feature I do want to show on the Max is what we call our step test. Now, in screen printing, for a screen exposure test, if you don't cure the emulsion correctly, it'll be undercured and washed out. If you over-cure it, you'll burn the image in and sort of shrink it a little bit. So there's a fine balance of finding the correct amount of exposure time. Typically, you would do that by covering up most of your emulsion and exposing an area, and then move the cover sheet over a little bit and expose it again. So the first one gets a little more each time you expose it, and you're stepping it down, so it gives you a wide variety. And you do that with your film positive on top, wash it out, and you'll be able to find that exact time that you would need to expose that screen. We do something, and we're the first in the world to do this. We built that into the Viper Max. Now, typically when you're trying to find the correct amount of pre-treatment to apply to your shirt, you'll take a guess, spray a shirt, print it. If it doesn't look good, you'll do another shirt and increase the amount of pre-treatment, this and that, whatever. So with this, it's built into the system, and I'm only going to spray a 9-inch area here. But what it's going to do is it's going to start spraying here. It's going to spray about a 2-inch wide area or strip. And there will be 6 of these sprayed. Each one will increase slightly in the amount of pre-treatment applied. Now, you can use the built-in presets, or you can actually put in your own amount. So this could be 10 grams, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 grams of pre-treatment, all on one shirt, and you don't have to go changing anything. You just push the button, it'll start spraying it. You take this to your heat press, heat set it, and then print it. And voila, all you have to do is print a white bar across it, and it will show you the point where your whites will not get any whiter. You won't see a noticeable difference. Typically on a black shirt, what you're going to see is the white will be like grayish, and then it will slowly get a little bit better, and where the white, you cannot tell a difference between the white improving, that is the setting that you want to use. So as you can see here, there are 6 different zones, heaviest amount of pre-treatment down to the lightest amount, and then we would just print our white bar across this. After we've heat set the pre-treatment, dried it, we throw it on our printer, print just a straight white bar across, and you'll be able to tell exactly where the correct amount of pre-treatment is for that particular shirt. And that's one thing that is probably one of the biggest misnomers in shirts or in DTG, is the fact that everybody wants to know the correct amount of pre-treatment to apply to a shirt. What I typically end up replying to on that is, I don't know. Because you can take one shirt and apply 10 grams, and you can take another shirt and apply 30 grams. This shirt here may look perfect, and this shirt over here may look horrible. It may need more than 30 grams of pre-treatment for a 14 by 14 or 14 by 16 area. So that's why we built that step test into the Viper Maxes, to make that much quicker and much easier to discover the actual amount of pre-treatment you need for a particular garment.
Yeah, we have a question here from a Barbara that was asking. She wants to know how to make it look like white toner on a whiter white on the shirt, and a lot of that has to do with the pre-treat, correct?
A lot has to do with the pre-treat. Typically, in that case, well, we could go into several different areas with this. The simple base answer to that would be apply a little bit more pre-treatment. Now, unfortunately, depending on the quality of the shirt, you're going to run into the potential need, like I just said, for more pre-treatment applied to the shirt to get a good white. And that may not necessarily always be desirable, because a lower quality shirt, the more pre-treat you apply to it, the stiffer it's going to get. It's going to have a different look and a feel, and the potential for burning it if it's an off color that's not black. So, that being said, always make sure that your inks are shaken up, because that will also cause an issue for if the printer is sat over a weekend. Maybe the inks and the lines have settled a little bit, and it all depends on how new your printer is. A lot of the newer printers do a great job of circulating the inks and keeping that white ink in the lines mixed up, I guess you could say, in suspension, so that you don't get a milky white and everything. But outside of that, the really only good way to increase your whites on a shirt would be to increase the pre-treat, or up the amount of white ink that you're applying to the shirt, or do a double pass of white where you lay an underbase of white and then another highlight white that might actually help give you that better looking whiteness. I believe somebody wanted to see the Viper Mini in action, so we'll grab a shirt here. We'll grab our handy dandy foam platen, and this, people always ask, why do we have this? Because it's fun, you can play with it. And if you really need to lay down and take a nap, it makes the table softer for your head. No, seriously, This helps the shirt give traction, or the unit traction on the shirt. If you just lay a shirt on a table, the table's typically really smooth and slick. When you start the Viper Mini, it'll sometimes grab that, want to spin it out. So this gives you enough friction so that the shirt doesn't go whoop underneath the Viper Mini. So we'll grab a shirt. We'll switch over here to our close-up camera. Lay the shirt out on this, just like that. And if I didn't show you before, you can see here on our Viper Mini, excuse me, you can adjust the speed up or down, just like on the XPT 1000 and the Viper Max. Higher the number, the less pre-treat it will lay down. And you can also adjust up and down the spray nozzle, up and down, to adjust the spray width. As you can see, it's marked here, and we do have a chart that shows you when you're set at 14 inches, roughly that will equate out to, at 70, it will equate out to a certain number of grams. So you can consistently apply pre-treatment to every shirt. So we just line it up. The spray will always start a few inches in front of the wheels, and we get it lined up and straight, and we're just going to hold this back here. We aren't going to press down really, we're just using this to sort of guide it. And we have the start button up top. When we press this button, it activates the spray, the pump, and the wheels. Now the neat thing is the pump that we use in this is the same exact pump that we use in our XPT 6000. And it is a high quality Swiss-made pump specifically for us. You can't just go buy this pump. We've designed it to work with the pre-treatments and our systems in general. And it is not an inexpensive pump, but it works really, really well. So we'll switch back so we can see our XPT or Viper Mini here, and we'll line it up, hit this, and spray. Boom, and we can spray for as long as we want on that shirt, and there we go. We have that. It's ready to take to the heat press it, and then straight to our printers so we can get a good print. And you saw how easy that was and how fast. You can actually do it. This is a great unit for a lot of the newbies starting out and smaller shops that have space constraints. You saw with the other machines, they are bigger. And because of that, you need extra room. This you can just take when you're done, flush it, stick it on the shelf, under the counter, wherever, and you're good to go. That's the beauty of it, and it's actually patent pending. So nobody else is going to be able to make one of these. And if they do, that'll be fun for us.
All right, we actually do have quite a few questions in here, Brian. I'm just going to start going down the line here. And again, we'll do our best to answer all the questions that are flooding in. So feel free to ask at any time, and we'll be sure to get to them. But we have a question that says, can I use Image Armor inks in my Omniprint machine?
Absolutely, yes. That would be our E-Series inks. And ideally, you would want to flush your system out. But yes, you can actually use the E-Series inks in that. E-Series inks generally have about a 35-40 second cure time for the white ink. And it's very durable. It's a great ink. And it'll work great in any of the Epson-based printhead machines. The E-Series will for that. Now we also do have inks for the Epson F Series, the F2000, 2100s, the 3070. We also are releasing, I guess we could announce it here, we're releasing our GTX inks here. Those are available right now. We have them available on Dean Armando at garmentprinterinc.com has those in stock. It's a drop-in replacement. You can't tell the difference between OEM color and ours. Same cure time, 35 seconds, and it's just a great ink for that. So we have inks for virtually every printer out there on the market. We're one of the leaders as far as third-party inks, And I feel we actually have better inks than a lot of the OEMs. Now, if we could just get those OEMs to come to us and buy our inks, that would be great. But that hasn't happened yet.
All right, we have several questions about putting Pretreat on polyester and poly blends.
Roger that. All right, well, good thing I guess I had a couple of shirts here. Polyester. Polyester is the holy grail. And you know what, Dean? I believe we have a couple of the red ones possibly still in the dryer back there. But we'll start here with this. This here is a Sport Tech, as you can see. And this unit, or this print itself, we've done for a webinar we did with Rico specifically. And everybody always asks, can you print on polyester? The answer to that is yes. The caveat to that is, how do I want to say this? There are no magic bullets. Pretreatment is not the magic bullet that's going to make it happen. They may be in the dryer, sir. Nope, or in the washer still. They're probably in the washer. You got to love our small family setup here with doing these webinars. We do a lot of testing in-house, and I'm actually doing a lot with polyester right now that I think some people are going to be really, really, really excited about in the near future. But getting back to what I was saying, everybody who thinks, oh, do you have a pretreatment for polyester? That is the biggest misconception that I can think of right off the top of my head that frustrates me, because it's not just pretreatment. It's the shirt, it's the inks, it's the pretreatment, and the process thereof. And in doing so, actually, there's a bunch right next to the dryer that have been washed multiple times, if you could grab one of those. And it's a combination of all those things. And process is a big thing. With this one here, this one has not been washed yet, just to be upfront with you, but it still looks great. And it was done on a Sport Tech ST340 shirt on black, which prints really great with our Image Armor Ultra pretreatment. This was done with Rico's standard OEM ink sets. This shirt here has been washed, I guess we can see that, yeah, has been washed 12 times. And when Dean gets back, we'll pull up the close-up camera here so we can see it a little bit better. Yep, we'll just hand these over here. We'll zoom in on this so we can see it a little bit better. And as you can see, the whites are still very, very white. It's been washed 12 different times. I keep track. We have a setup for checking it off when we do that. And the print looks great, and with virtually no degradation in the white ink or the colors for this print. And again, this was on an ST340 with the Ultra ink, and this was actually done with Epson OEM inks off of an Epson 2100. So with that being said, everybody always asks about the ability to print on red shirts, because red is sort of like the holy grail. And what I'm going to do is I'll find, not that one, but this one here. This has sensitive data at the bottom of it. But what you can see here on this shirt, this is actually one of our shirts that that we've developed for RTP. And as you can see here, if we do a close-up on this, we'll go to the second camera. You can see this was actually heat pressed and run for about 3 minutes under the heat press. The white is still white. And this shirt has been washed numerous times, and it still looks great. Now, this is some of our proprietary technology that we're using for polyester printing.
Brian,
yeah.
Does that mean that RTP Apparel is going to have polyesters?
We do have polyester. The problem is right now is all the COVID crap and everything that has delayed everything. It's put a damper on our production of everything. But yes, we do have shirts the red shirts you can print on. You could scorch them under the heat of the sun, and it still will not dye migrate. Now, if you're utilizing a standard pre-treatment on a standard shirt, the problem you're going to run into is most polyester shirts, the dyes are really of a poor quality. And by that I say, you should never wash a brand new red polyester shirt in with anything that is white, especially cotton. It's going to turn pink, and that's because all the dyes are washing out. And that's a major, major problem. So when you're printing direct to garment and heat pressing your beautiful white ink on top of that beautiful red shirt that's on top of that beautiful pre-treatment, anytime it gets heated up, that dyes of the red shirt are going to migrate up through your white ink, turn it pink, and it's going to look crappy. It's just not going to look good at all. And that's a problem. Now, a lot of people in the industry tell you how to get around that, and they tell you to get around it by curing your ink at a much lower temperature. You may get several washes out of it, but long-term longevity, it's not a good solution. Your inks aren't properly curing and cross-linking, so you won't have that wash durability. Again, like I said, this here has been washed 12 times, and I can get 50 plus washes out of it, and it'll still look the same. But when you undercure your ink, you are really shortening the lifespan of that print on the garment. And that's the only way right now that you're really going to get around it, unless you're sublimating the shirt red with on a white polyester. Otherwise, outside of that, you're not going to be able to do it. And everybody always asks, the pre-treatment will take care of that. Why don't you have a polyester pre-treatment? Again, shirt, inks, pre-treatment, and process. And if you do that, like I said, I did this shirt here specifically just on the Epson and the Ricoh RI 1000. Printed great, they wash great. And that's probably because the black is one of the easiest colors to do. The other big thing is because the dyes aren't necessarily that great in a lot, probably 99+% of the polyester shirts that are out there. Any other color shirt you do is going to have issues where you're going to stain it and see the pre-treatment on the shirt. Unfortunately, that's just the state of the union for direct-to-garment at the moment.
Speaking of which, we have a question here that says, I pre-treat poly with Epson poly pre-treat. Seems to not spray even or consistent, and that they really have to soak the shirt. That ties back to having poly pre-treat.
Yes, and the Epson poly pre-treatment, you said it doesn't spray well correctly. Is that what it said? That pre-treatment is really, 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 really thick. Think of pancake syrup, and I don't want to talk it down because that pre-treat works out fairly decent, but it won't spray really well. And that's just because it is a much thicker pre-treatment, and it doesn't spray through 99+% of the machines on the market super well. So you would have to find alternative methods of getting that pre-treatment onto the shirt. But again, that pre-treatment is not going to cure the problem of dye migration. So,
keeping along the vein of pre-treat, how do you go about handling staining or working with difficult garment colors such as charcoal, tans, military greens, and etc.?
Again, it goes back to the issue of the dyes. And a good example of this would be like a camouflage shirt and trying to direct the garment print on it. Because of the dyes they use, it's going to sublimate up through. As far as discoloring, that is another issue related to the interaction of the pre-treatment and the dyes of the shirt and or residual chemicals on the shirt. A higher quality shirt will tend to do that less. than a lower quality shirt. And the reason why the lower quality shirt does that is, and it's cheaper, is because they cut out a lot of processes during manufacturing where they end up leaving residual chemicals onto the shirt. And that's why you always hear people say, hey, wash your shirt or your underwear or whatever before you wear it. Because there typically always is going to be residuals on the fabric itself. And unfortunately, with a lot of shirts, the dyes that are used don't play well with a lot of the pre-treatments out there. Now, a lot of the lighter colors, you can sort of, you can apply less pre-treatment, or like say on a charcoal or something like that with our Image Armor Ultra, you could water it down a little bit to a 1-to-1 ratio. And that will reduce or eliminate that issue specifically with the discoloration of the pre-treatment when it's heat set. And it's funny, if you take a red shirt, just take a red shirt sometime, right out of the box, throw it on your heat press and press it. See if there's any residual change even after the shirt has cooled in the coloration of the shirt. I've seen that before too. Which again goes back to the fact that the dyes are not necessarily of a super high quality, or they haven't been set properly. And that's where you run into a lot of the issues in DTG. Now, like with our red RTP shirts, you don't run into that at all because you can print anywhere on the shirt multiple times, any location, and you will not get any discoloration outside of the instant when you heat it. It gets a little darker and then it cools off, it goes back to normal.
And speaking of RTP and difficult colors, we do offer charcoal.
Yes.
We do offer military green and coyote brown.
Yep.
OD green.
Yes, we actually have 13. I had to stop and think for reversed here. 13 colors. So we have your basic black, white, athletic gray, red, pink, charcoal, navy, royal blue, Kelly green, orange, I said pink, and white and white and black, which we'd started off with. So we have 13 colors, and we have a lot of really neat stuff coming here this fall for you in the RTP line of ready-to-print shirts. Not quite ready to release all that, but I can guarantee you they are in the pipeline. They are being produced. Hint, hint.
Well, I was just going to see if we can answer this question. It was in regards to hoodies. Do we plan to do any RTP hoodies? And if not, in a relative close time frame, is there any that we recommend?
Yes, RTP coming this fall. Hint, hint.
And in regards to going back to poly, is there a recommended poly shirt brand if we're not unable to get RTP at the time?
No, because there's so many different brands out there. Again, if you're doing black, the Sporttech ST340 works out really well. I don't want to push any particular brands. I'm sure like the A4 will work fine. Any of the other main brands. Black is probably going to be the easiest. Now, people will also always be like, well, why would you pre-treat white polyester? If you've ever printed polyester white with just CMYK, you want to pre-treat the white. And that's what we typically use for like our light shirt formula here. And what it does is it really helps hold the image and gives better wash durability on it. Our inks are water-based, so polyester typically wants to disperse moisture. Well, our inks are water-based, so it's going to bleed all over the place. With the pre-treatment applied to the white polyester shirt, it holds it in place, makes it look a lot better. And Dean actually said the other day that he goes, well, you could just sublimate that. It's like, yes, you could sublimate it, but at the same point in time, not everybody has sublimation. If you have a direct-to-garment printer and you don't have a sublimation printer, that's fine. You can actually use the light shirt formula and then spray the shirt and get your DTG print on the white polyester. Up. Sorry about that. Looks like we lost it because somebody left the camera on too long before we actually went live. So he's swapping out the camera right there. But hopefully you guys heard all that as far as with the white polyester. And we'll be back up on our main camera here in a second as we get everything turned back on. But yeah, you could use the light shirt formula for the polyester, white polyester, and get phenomenal print results based off that, which works out really, really well. But as far as recommending any particular brand, with white shirts, I've seen great results across a whole bunch of different brands. But because of the way they process the shirts, sometimes the results are better than others. I've had great results with the Sport Tech shirts, even the white ones. Red, it doesn't really matter. You're going to have dye migration issues unless you undercure your ink, and that's not necessarily the best thing to do for a direct-to-garment print.
Staying in the vein of RTP, what is the shelf life, and do they need to be polybagged while in storage, individually or in bulk? And what bulk quantity is acceptable if they do need to be bagged?
Well, let's see. This is the great thing. I'm super excited to see Sanmar, Fruit of the Loom, all these big boys coming into the RTP type market right now. Why? Because we've been doing it for 5 years now. 5 years. We didn't officially start this. I have to give that credit. Chuck Northcutt originally tried to do a shirt, and that was back in the early days. And I think he did okay with it, but it wasn't the best process, and the knowledge. It just everything culminated into the fact that he was the first. We're the first to commercially bring these shirts to market. 5 years. Okay, 5 years. Now, the fun thing is this right here. I'm going to pull this one up. We did this test shirt. If you can zoom in on the close-up here, Dean. And we'll switch over to the camera. This is an RTP Apparel shelf life test. 0 years, 6 months. This was printed back on December 1st of 2020 on the Epson. Now, you'd be saying, oh, well, okay, 6 months. Whoop-dee! But put this in your pipe and smoke it. Anybody that's coming into the market, I can verify and say, not that shirt, sorry. I almost stuck my foot in my mouth. That was another 6-month one. This one right here. 4 years, 9 months. That was back on December 1st. And we've got shirts back there yet. We've got a whole box. So we can do this for the next 20 years if we wanted to, testing-wise. I really do not know the shelf life of our shirts. I'm the only company in the world that can say de facto that our garments have a very good shelf life. Now, I will make this disclaimer right here. If you have a shirt, RTP shirt, that's been sitting around for 5 years, you should not be doing direct-to-garment. You should not have shirts sitting around that long. That means you're not printing enough. Either that or you bought way too much inventory, which is another problem. So, that being said, we don't really fully know the shelf life of our products. Special care to keep them in top shape. Keep them out of direct sunlight. Don't immerse them in water. Don't spill beverages on them. That will destroy the printing area. Keep them in a closed box, and we tell people to keep them in the bags. Right now, we ship them all in 6-pack bags, and if you buy a single, we pull it out as a separate item. The reason why you would want to keep them in the bags is, one, keeping dust and lint off of it, and two, from people doing this and excess handling, you throw it, you pick it up, and you fold it, and this and that. you're roughing the surface of the shirt up, and you don't want to do that a whole lot. You want to keep the surface as smooth and clean as possible prior to printing. Especially with ours, you will want to remove the moisture from the shirt prior to printing. So stick it under a heat press real quick for 5-10 seconds, get the moisture out of it, then go straight to your printer and print. So as far as handling, I would say don't do this to your shirt prior to printing. It's not good for the print surface. You're going to rough up the fibers, which then will pop up through your ink film. So minimal handling as possible. Does it need to be in a bag? No, not necessarily. The biggest enemy that you are going to run into is going to be moisture. For everybody that lives out in Arizona or Colorado, especially in the dry seasons, that is not going to be an issue. You still may want to heat press it. You'd be surprised at the amount of moisture, because the shirts do like moisture and they will absorb it. But outside of that, pretty much anybody else is going to need to pre-press the shirts prior to printing. So I hope that answers your question.
Kind of switching gears here a little bit. What are our thoughts on the best way to handle on-demand printing of custom neck labels on non-pre-treated garments? Or non-pre-treated garments, I should say.
Well, I can tell you with the RTP, it makes it easy because tearaway tag, and you can print right on the neck. And I know that's not the question, but that's my shameless plug to make your life easier. That being said, the best thing you can do is pre-treat the neck area, heat press it, maybe build yourself a little jig for your heat press that's a little foam pad that's raised up so you're not pressing the collar. Pressing the collars will tend to, it's made of a slightly different material, so you can sort of get those heat press marks in it that you may not ever be able to get out. But that would probably be the easiest thing. And there's not going to be a real good way to pre-treat that. Now with our Max, you could use the sleeve portion or create a little thing where you could just spray the neck area and then go to the heat press. It is going to be a lot of extra work. So one thing you could do is this. If you're not printing on a black or a navy, don't pre-treat it and just print black ink on red. Print black ink on the white shirt. Print black ink on the athletic gray or whatever it is on the standard untreated cotton. The inks are designed to work with cotton and will pretty much typically wash very well with that, especially with the inks today compared to years ago. And with that being said, just print a black label. You don't have to do a full color thing on it. And that would be the easiest way to get around it. One, you don't have to pre-treat it. And two, it's a small area, so you can pop it onto your printer if you have a little jig made up. Boom, print your neck tag, be done with it, and then print the front. Now, if you're doing, and we do have a video on our YouTube channel that shows how to print the neck and the front of the shirt at the same time. So you just need to create a little raised area with a recess for the collar, and then you have your print area for the actual image itself. So you can actually print the neck tag and the front of the shirt all in one pass. That can make it tricky when you're trying to cure it if you're using a heat press. That typically is best suited for a conveyor dryer, and that typically would be the best way to cure the ink for a neck label front print of the shirt.
What's our YouTube channel?
We have several, and which can be confusing. You know what we should do, Dean, is link the YouTube channels up to the iGroup website directly under each of the company positions. So thank you, whoever asked that. Just that popped in. We'll make it easier for you. But if you go to the viperxpt.com, if you search YouTube for that, we also have one for RTP Apparel and also one for Image Armor. And if you search for those particular channels, there's a lot of videos that cover a whole lot of information related to direct-to-garment.
There's also iGroup Tech.
iGroup Tech too. That's why I've got Dean here, because I've got too much going on.
All right, getting back to pre-treat. What
Yes.
happens if I use dark or light? Um, I'm sorry. What happens if I use dark, ultra, or light colored shirt, cotton, or poly? I think it was weird. It was just worded a little strangely. But can you use dark or light on, like, can you use dark on a light colored shirt and light on a dark colored shirt, or?
Okay. The light shirt formula in and of itself is designed specifically for CMYK prints. Typically, you can do some white on with it on lighter colored shirts. This is not recommended for white ink printing on dark colored shirts. Now, I've used this for, say, like black printing on a red shirt. Okay. Or just like a light athletic gray if you really want to get colors to pop. Boom, this is great. Or white shirts where you need really great detail and pop, vividness and wash durability, and on 100%. The ultra and the dark, obviously, typically can be used for your black shirts all the way down to lighter colored shirts. Now, on the lighter colored shirts, you want to apply less pre-treatment, and also you want to make sure you keep them out of direct sunlight, because the more pre-treatment that is on the shirt, it can react with the UV of sunlight. That's why you always want to make sure your customers wash their shirts prior to wearing them and keep them out of direct sunlight in the meantime. A lot of people don't care. They just throw the shirt on, and if they've used ultra on a say like an ash gray or an athletic gray, and the people are out in the sun all day or whatever, it is going to yellow. That is pretty much every pre-treatment on the market is going to do that. But if you're doing like a light gray shirt, you might want to use this instead of this. And on lighter colored shirts, you don't need to use as much or as in much concentration with the ultra. If you need a white underbase, you're typically going to want to use this product or any dark type formula pre-treatment. But you can reduce the amount of pre-treatment required because you don't have as much dark color behind the white ink that you're trying to hide. So you can actually get away using less pre-treatment on lighter color garments. And I typically tell people it's like a sliding scale. The lighter the weight the shirt and the lighter the color of the shirt. Okay, let me back up. The lighter the color of the shirt, the less pre-treatment you need. The darker the shirt, more pre-treatment. Now, on the scale of a lighter weight shirt, you can use less pre-treatment. And a heavier weight shirt, it's going to soak it up more, so you're going to require pretty much more pre-treatment. You combine these two together, and it's a sliding scale. A lot of times, if you have a high-quality, thinner shirt that's on a black, you might be able to get away using less pre-treatment because the fibers are going to be better, there's less fabric there, and you can get a better white print. Whereas a heavier, lighter colored shirt, you may have to use a little bit more pre-treatment than you did on a better, darker colored shirt. And it is a sliding scale. That's where something like the step test on the Viper Max really comes into play. It helps you find that sweet spot without applying too much pre-treatment. Because some pre-treatments, not necessarily ours, but some pre-treatments, if you over-apply the pre-treatment, it can cause wash issues. And two, you're just wasting money. If you can reduce your pre-treatment usage by 10% a year, I don't know what each individual person uses as far as pre-treatment, but large shops can save a significant amount of money every year. Would you rather put an extra $500 or $5,000 or $50,000 in your pocket every year if you could save X amount of pre-treatment just by knowing the correct amount of pre-treat you should be applying? You know, you can. It's just how you operate your shop. And that's why I say knowing the correct amount of pre-treatment is key to running an efficient, profitable shop and getting great direct-to-garment prints.
Speaking to that point, is there a good range for grams laydown, and how would you measure that?
The way that you measure it is you would take a weigh scale, which is in the back room back there, to the right of the secret portal to the DTG gods. But we typically utilize a gram scale that looks like this. And basically you take your shirt, you would roll your shirt up, weigh it, zero it out, then spray a 14 by 14 area or 14 by 16 inch area on the shirt, reweigh it, and typically for a 14-14, if you spray that exact area, that's going to be your grams. So if it says 20 grams, you've applied about 20 grams of pre-treatment for the 14 by 14 inch area. A lot of people are like, well, I applied 20 grams, but you've talked to them and they sprayed 16 by 30 inches. That's not necessarily 14 or 20 grams. That's going to be a lot less because you applied that amount over a bigger area. So that's why everybody typically will utilize like a 14 by 14 or a 14 by 16 inch area for the gram usage. And that's ubiquitous for what you see across the industry, which is why it's important to utilize a machine that can consistently apply the correct amount of pre-treatment. And it's a good idea. These are cheap. You can pick these up for 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks or whatever it is. That way you can verify you are applying the correct amount of pre-treatment to your garments. Typically, once you find the setting on your machine, you don't adjust it unless you know that you have to set it to a different number to get a different gram laydown for a lighter colored shirt. But outside of that, these are always good to have on hand. And I would recommend it as part of any DTG shop, especially if you're trying to hand spray. You have no clue how much you're applying when you hand spray. You don't. And I've had people tell me, and God forgive me, but I've had to call people out on this. It's like, well, I can tell exactly by looking at the shirt exactly how much pre-treatment's on it. And I'm like, BS. They're like, I can tell. I'm like, I've been spraying for a million years. I'm like, I have literally used our pre-treatment machines, taken two different shirts, applied 20 grams of pre-treatment to each shirt. One shirt looked like it was dripping, soaking wet, and the other one looked like it barely had any pre-treatment on it. Note, using a machine in the same exact setting. You cannot visually tell how much pre-treatment is on a shirt when you're hand spraying. That shirt could soak it up, or it can make it sit on top, and you really cannot tell how much or the correct amount of pre-treatment that you need or have on that shirt.
And word of note is when you're doing your weight measurement, you want to make sure that you weigh it while it's wet, correct?
Weigh it while it's wet, correct.
Okay, let's switch gears here back to RTP. We have a individual here that does high volume POD printing, so print on demand.
Okay.
If they were to add RTP to the inventory, ideally holding less than 6 months, would it be okay to open store in a warehouse on a rack and then simply heat pressing prior to printing?
You could, if you're printing that much, they're going to be in bags, 6-pack or 6 shirts to a poly bag, anyways, which has the little silicone gel desiccant in it to keep moisture out of the shirts. So the answer to that would be partially yes. I would recommend keeping them in the box, not out in the open, because even the lights, and we have LED lights in this room here, that does emit ultraviolet light. When I had my screen printing shop, I didn't realize it. I did have open shirts folded over in dozens sitting on the shelf, and I had them all stacked up, and there was a group of shirts, even on black, and I remember on some of the whites and some of the ash grays and some of the other colors, they'd been sitting there for so long under fluorescent lights. There was no outside sunlight in the room. That open area that was exposed to the fluorescent lights actually discolored. And that was on standard shirts. So even a standard shirt is going to react UV over time. And that's why I would recommend keeping them in the box. It makes it easier to stack. If you need it, you can pull it off the shelf. You could have a few of them, I guess, open if you wanted to, but it's ideal to keep them dry, safe, out of direct light, just in general prior to use. If they're going to sit there for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's just long-term exposure. Everything is going to react with UV.
Brian, what's your general thoughts about direct-to-garment as a whole, and where do you see this industry going?
Direct-to-garment as a whole, like I said earlier, I saw the potential of direct-to-garment back when it sucked. It really was in the early stages, but Dean and I were talking about this the other day. Technology. Technology-related stuff seems to always take a front seat. It may take it time, and the adoption curve and the way that works is just a rate of adoption and how well the products work and how well it advances over time. So where do I see DTG? It is mainstream right now. It is growing at a rate, I believe, of about, what did we figure? Within a few years, it was going to be 40% of the market. And right now, currently, just from my experience in talking with a lot of even the big players and what we're doing with inks and pretreatments and machines and all that, in general, probably somewhere between 4 and 8% of all shirts printed, at least here in the US, probably worldwide, are direct to garment, if not less. But that is going to continue to grow. Everything is becoming more print on demand, custom ones of this. Hey, I need one use small and one 5X shirt. You know, screen printing, you're not going to do that. But I need this one shirt with 20 million colors. I need it to be full color. I need 3 colors. You're not going to print one shirt with 3 colors screen printed. Can you? Yes. It'll be extremely expensive, and whoever does that is not all there. They shouldn't be running a business. They're doing that as a charity. Time is money. And direct-to-garment provides that beautiful opportunity of bringing together artwork that anybody can create, which can be a problem for you as a direct-to-garment printer, and the ability to put that on a shirt and instantly get results and have it done with really no setup, tear down, reclaiming of screens and all that. And you can do it much quicker. And as time goes by, we're going to see, and we've seen it, just take a look at the last 5 years. The production speeds of machines. Within the last 5 years, we've cut out the need to pre-treat the shirt, which can take up a big chunk of space in your production facility and a lot of time. And my goal is to get this industry to the point where you don't need to pre-treat. If I can put myself out of business by not having to pre-treat and manufacture the pre-treatment itself, and you can just buy the shirt and go and print, that would be awesome. And eventually we may get there. And I always get asked, you know, we're going to get inks that are going to kick out pre-treatment. I don't see that happening anytime soon, especially with what we know about inks and what we understand with the mechanics of the way everything interacts. That's not going to happen. You're always going to have to pre-treat or use a pre-treated type shirt. But the market is growing phenomenally. The opportunities, if you had told people 5-10 years ago that you could build an entire business without having to have pre-printed inventory and sell these shirts and make good money, it just really, it was just beginning back then, and a lot of people didn't realize it. Now we have new people jumping into the business in the direct-to-garment printing side every day that have great ideas targeting specific markets and just crushing it and making good money. So I see it's only going to continue to grow, and it has a place in the market. You know, just as screen printing has a place in the market, and embroidery and sublimation and direct-to-film and all these other, you know, garment decorating techniques all have a place. The market just keeps expanding, and as new needs arise, we have new processes that jump in, and direct-to-garment fulfills a lot of those just because of what it can do and how fast and efficient. Sometimes it's not as cheap to do because the inks and everything can be expensive, but when you take into account all the other setups and the costs associated with other decorating methods, it's a great viable alternative, and can be profitable depending on your business model.
Yeah, and just to reiterate there, those are pretty impressive numbers if you think about it. Going from
Oh my gosh.
currently 4 to 8% to 40 in 5 years.
The crazy thing is in talking with industry professionals, and this is going to blow people's minds when I ask this, they just throw out numbers. How many shirts are printed, manufactured, and printed just in the U.S. every year? A lot of people have no clue, and that number is somewhere between 2 and 4 billion shirts. To the best of our knowledge and the people we've talked to, that is roughly the number that comes up. 2 to 4 billion. If we're sitting at a 5% market share for direct-to-garment, that is only 100 million shirts a year being direct-to-garment printed in the U.S. only. 100 million. If it grows to 40% of the market, that's potentially 1.6 billion shirts direct-to-garment printed. And people like you and the audience here are the ones contributing to that growth. You're allowing companies like us to continue to innovate and develop when you support us and you buy our pre-treat machines and our pretreatments and our shirts. We've been trying to grow RTP organically to make it easier for you guys. We have a lot of cool stuff coming out this fall in the RTP, and it's because of your support that has allowed us and your customers' support of you in your direct-to-garment business and you supporting us, and that whole business and that industry and segment of apparel decorating is going to continue to grow, and we're going to see some really cool stuff in the next 5 years, I think.
It gets us excited. It gets me excited.
That's what makes it fun to come into work every day, Dean. Hey, we get to do. I'm sure it's like most people in the audience. There are times where it's a pain in the butt. Oh, this customer, they keep changing this and that. You just want to get that job out. And then there's days where you print things and go, this is just beautiful. This is fun. This is what makes it worthwhile getting up, going to work, creating beautiful things, making people happy, seeing their smiles when they pick up those shirts and going, wow, that's awesome. And then they come back and keep buying stuff from you. That is what makes it fun. And for me, it's not just about business. It's not just about trying to make money or doing this or that. I really want to try to change the industry, and we're doing that one shirt at a time. That's sort of my motto. We want to change the DTG industry one shirt at a time, and we are doing that. And it's people like you that are attending these webinars and asking questions that make something click up here. Because if you ask anybody in my office, my one guy he's like, it has to hurt up here for you. And it's like, no, my brain just functions this way, and I love it. And that's why we're able to do what we do for the direct-to-garment industry.
Just to switch gears here a little bit, getting back on the train of, I could sit here and talk about the industry forever. I find it extremely fascinating. I think all of us early adapters are really going to be benefit from getting in here and getting all the kinks worked out and figuring things out, and then it'll just get easier and we can all profit a lot better in the future. But going back to our inks, we do have Image Armor inks.
Yes.
You had made mention earlier that we have GTX inks coming out. That's a big, exciting announcement. Anything planned for Rico?
If you talk to some of our distributors, they do carry inks for some of the older Rico-based head printers. Garment Printer Ink, I believe. DTG Printer Parts carries some of the inks, and different distributors do have those inks on their websites that you can buy for like the MP 3000s, 6000s, and a lot of those different older type printers. So yes, we do have a full series of our series, GTX inks and the old GT3 series inks, the E series for all the Epson-based heads, and the F series for the Epson F 2000, 2100, and the 3070s. So we do have a full complementary inks, and we actually have inks for other printers we don't talk about specifically just because we do a lot more than what people think. Let's put it that way.
Just to jump into some more of these questions here, and we're kind of a little bit all over the place, but hey, that's what we're doing here today.
Absolutely. And we're going to have to wrap it up here soon, too, because we're over our 1 hour allotment.
Yeah,
if this has been negative success, we'll have to do it again here very soon.
Yeah, just two more questions here, actually.
Sure.
If anybody has anything really pertinent, ask it now, but we got two more. Say you pre-treated a shirt and you think it was gone wrong or you did a bad job. Can you wash it and then re-pre-treat?
Can you? Yeah, sure. Would I guarantee the outcome of that shirt? No. One, because you've already washed it. The customer is more than likely going to know. And if you wash it while it's still wet, you could probably get most of it out, and it's not going to hurt to re-pre-treat it. But I wouldn't necessarily rely on that. If it was a one-off shirt, yeah, you could probably get away with it. If it's in with a batch of other shirts that were pre-treated correctly, and this one, there you might see some differences. I wouldn't necessarily suggest it. For the cost of a generic shirt like that, I don't know if it would be worth it monetarily to chance something down the road and having to replace that shirt.
All right. I think a lot of the questions have been answered. We've gone over most of these things that are left here. You want to just hit real quick on best way to go about ordering the various things that we sell?
Absolutely. For our Viper Mini, you can actually go to our vipermini.com website, and we list all of our current distributors. And if the distributor actually carries our other pretreatment machines, they carry this also. They just may not have it in stock. So call and ask your distributor, or you can visit our website directly and order it. If you're looking to purchase a new direct-to-garment printer, ask your garment printer manufacturer to buy the pretreatment machine during that sale. If they don't sell it or won't sell it, just call us directly. We can help you out there. For all of the pretreatments, we have distributors worldwide. You can literally get our stuff virtually on every continent except for Antarctica, I think, and places where I won't even travel to. Let's put it that way, because it's not safe. But you can get the pretreatments through our distribution network. Visit imagearmorpt.com and you can get a list of places where you can buy that. And also for the pretreatment machines, virtually anybody that is selling a direct-to-garment printer, they can bundle our machines with it. They may push a different pretreat machine on you. That's fine if you want to go with a different pretreat machine. Just make sure that pre-treating is so important. That is going to be the cornerstone to you being successful. That'd be one of the pillars to you being successful in direct-to-garment printing. So you need a good pre-treatment machine. Those can be purchased by directly calling us or through any of our distributors that we have listed online. And I just want to thank everybody for attending today. And I was reminded, for RTP, you can go to shop.rtpapparel.com. If you go to rtpapparel.com, that gives you the option of going to Australia, Europe, South Africa, and also the U.S. You can do that, click the U.S., and that'll take you directly to our website here, and you can order directly online with that. And the websites, we do have social pages. Thank you for reminding me, Dean. You can bring up all the social media stuff. We have Instagram, we have Twitter.
It's all under iGroup Tech in a variation. But yeah, just jump on our main Facebook page. We actually have Facebook pages for all of our divisions. There's one for Image Armor, there's one for RTP, there's one for iGroup Tech, yep. and again, we're on YouTube. There's a lot of information out there.
Yeah, and the iGroup Tech, letter I, group, tech.com. That lets you go to all the individual websites, and we'll have to make note to link up all social media and YouTube channels directly underneath each of those links off of iGroup Tech. Wanted to thank everybody for stopping by, joining us today. This will be uploaded probably in the next day or two, so if you want to review any information on it, you can, and we will have that up on our YouTube channel and maybe some clips on some of the different medias.
Uh,